I think being a risk taker is something I take a lot of pride in, of not being afraid to fail on things.
Right.
And that started at the very beginning.
Did you have an outlet that helped you come out of that shell?
No, there's so much
Okay.
that is in that my
Okay.
mind is spinning of all the answers.
Hi, Inspiration Nation. We're super excited today. We're going to be doing our first ever podcast, and we have Doug, our CEO, here to introduce it and tell us a little bit about how the Inspiration Company started and all the things that he's experienced thus far.
Thank you, Faith. Super excited to be here today, especially with Faith. Faith is actually one of our very first employees that started working for us, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
8 years ago,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
at the very beginning. And what a huge day today is, starting the Inspiration Nation podcast. Each week we're going to be bringing inspirational stories. Faith's going to be interviewing all different people, and I'm excited to kick it off telling the story of the Inspiration Company.
Yes.
So let's get this started.
Yeah, totally. So first, we just wanted to ask, have you ever done an interview like this before? We were obviously trying to do some research before this and figure out any questions you had answered. We found a few things,
Yeah.
but tell us a little bit more about that.
You know, every customer that walks into the store, I tell the story to,
Right.
but I haven't gone on a national tour telling it. I've
Right.
been interviewed a few times.
Yeah.
I think the most memorable one was when the law firm that patented our bracelet design interviewed, and I did an interview there. When we were on Good Morning America, I answered some questions in that process as well. But I'm excited today to get on and tell the story,
Yeah.
the origin story. How did we start? So.
Right. Let's dive into it. So the engraved message on the front being the most important part and what has made this company so successful. So if you want to go into how did that come about? How did you guys start with that message?
Yeah. Well, it started at the very beginning. We started the Inspiration Company not trying to start the Inspiration Company.
Right.
So we started it because we needed inspiration ourselves. I had just come out of a window of life, and my wife was going through stuff. Her family had some personal issues. It was like everything in the world was starting to kind of, I don't want to say crumble, but when you have a job for 20 years and you lose that job and then you have to try to start all over again, it's kind of a scary time.
Yeah.
And that, along with a serious health situation in a family, we found ourselves in a dark little circle where you start anticipating bad things to happen. And when you start thinking and anticipating for things to happen, all of a sudden that's what you start to see. You start seeing what you're looking for. So we were sitting on this park, and never forget the day. It's about 3 miles from here, so whenever you drive by Holiday Park, we're actually getting interviewed next week by Victoria Park Magazine.
Really?
Because in Victoria Park, there's a park there called Holiday Park.
Yeah.
And sitting on that bench is where the whole concept of the Inspiration Company started. So we're sitting there, and my wife is like, we just got to stop talking about all of our problems all the time. So we started this goal to say, okay, let's remind ourselves to think of positive things. So we started with the Post-it note idea. You've probably done it as well, right?
Yeah.
You write these Post-it notes down and you put it on your computer,
Yes.
you're in the car, wherever.
My bathroom mirror.
Bathroom mirrors. There
Yeah.
you go. So you write down, and that when you see that, it reminds you of that positive thing. So we did that, and then we were like, well, what if we could take that message with you, where everywhere you go, you get reminded, and you can look down, and it gives you courage, whether or not you're going into your classroom or going into work or you're about to answer this call, that message jumps out on you and reminds you. So we said, let's make a bracelet of it. So we made a bracelet. And again, that's where the concept came from, but the business didn't start for probably a year after that, because we made the bracelets. We then started giving them to friends and family, and people started liking them, and we'd have to make more of them. And then it was like, wow, maybe this could be a business. So so that's kind of the idea concept where it all started from.
So when did you decide to take it a little bit more seriously and take it out of your close friends and family? Yeah,
no, for sure. Great question. There came a time where you have to have faith, right? Where it's like, okay, are we going to make this into a business and actually this can be our job? Or do we have to go get a real job? And like I said, I was transitioning out of a job. And so it was a time frame where it was like, all right, we either need to make this into something, or you have to go get a desk job somewhere.
Right.
And so we kind of took a step of faith, and we were like, well, let's take the summer, pack the kids up, and where can we sell them at? And so we were like, let's go to music festivals and set up a little booth inside of music festivals and see how they sell. So we packed up the 3 kids and went on a 2-month road trip where we went to music festivals all the way from the middle of the desert in Texas. I'll never forget, like, what are the tumbleweeds that come across the desert? And it was so hot and covered in dust everywhere. And all the way up into Michigan and New York. But we fell in love with it, you know, and on that trip is where we realized the why behind our bracelets. And that's where the story started connecting to our customers. And from that point on, it didn't even matter if we made a profitable business. It wasn't about that. After that, it was the stories and the lives that we saw that were being changed by the impact of just one simple bracelet. The first story that I remember was from actually another vendor. And this story was about, let me think about it. They had been there for a long time. And
at one of the music festivals.
One of the music festivals. So they come year after year after year. Nice. And they found us and they came up and was asking what we were selling. And we were like, well, we sell inspirational bracelets. And whatever it is that you're going through, we have a bracelet to inspire you. Right. And then I break down crying, just like instantly, like didn't know him or anything like that. And all of a sudden the relationship just goes into a serious, because that segue is so important. And I do that all the time. You know, that's the why behind the company is that whenever I meet somebody and they say, well, how does the company work? I'll say, close your eyes for a second. So Faith, close your eyes. If you're out there watching, close your eyes too. And take a deep breath. And I just want you to think for a second and think of, all right, who do I know that needs inspiration? Or what do I need inspiration for? If you're quiet for a second, all of a sudden, that idea. You can open your eyes now. I don't want to just have our eyes closed the whole time, but that's what it is. People start popping in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has something in their life that they need inspiration for. Another story I remember was Ashley. A little girl came up, and by little girl I mean she's like 18, I think, and she came up to Ashley and was like, I've been looking for a sign that my mom is still with me and that my mom loved me. She had lost her, I guess, a couple weeks or months earlier. Yeah. And she came and she saw the Always My Mother, Forever My Friend bracelet. Yeah. And she came up and saw that bracelet, and then all of a sudden she starts crying. Ashley starts crying. They're hugging each other. And going through that experience on the road that first summer is what made us say, this is what we want to do the rest of our life. Yeah. We want to inspire people and make people who are in a dark place have hope that can pull them out of it. And what an exciting job to be able to do, you know? And since then, we've now grown from that to 250 plus employees, 58 stores all around the United States, all with that one mission, to inspire people through a simple message that's on their wrist.
Right, that's beautiful. So then from there you come home, and I know it's a family-owned company, so you come home after that, it was just you and Ashley and the kids, and then how did you bring the rest of the family, how did you convince the rest of the family to get on board? Yeah,
when we got back from the summer, we were on cloud 9.
Right.
It was like, okay, now what do we do next though? And when you're starting a business, that's when the challenge comes, is at the point where it's like, okay, what do I do now? And normally you hit roadblocks. For us, we're like, okay, where can we sell them at? So we started our website. Ashley built a phenomenal website. Nobody's going to the website because they don't know who we are yet, right?
Yeah, drive traffic there.
Right, we don't have any traffic. And so then we were like, well, let's go to the malls. My background was in mall marketing, so I knew a little bit about malls and how people went and traffic and
the potential
that's there. Which is funny because at the beginning, everybody was like, don't open up retail. Like, don't do it. And I've always thought and been taught you don't put all of your eggs in one basket.
Right.
So it's good to diversify the traffic source. And we can go into that at a different time about having different traffic sources of customers and getting new customers. But anyway, so we went to open up these kiosks inside of malls. And then we hit another roadblock, which is we had to build the kiosks. We had to get inventory. We had to get email marketing. We had to do all these different things. And when you're first starting a business, you have to wear so many different hats. Yeah. And sometimes then if you can't do it all yourself, you got to start asking people that you can depend on that will work for free too. Right. Because when you're first starting, you don't have a budget to go pay a graphic designer or anything. And I'll never forget when we went to the mall. They're like, you have to have designed architectural drawings for your kiosk to come in there. And I went and researched it. It was like $8,000. And I was like, oh man. And so I could have just given up right then. But I was like, all right, call my dad up. Hey, Dad, can you draw this kiosk drawing for me? So he drew up the kiosk drawings to get approved. And then they was like, all right, you have to build professional kiosks. So I go out and do that. And it's like $25,000 per kiosk. And I'm wanting to open up 12 of them. So that's what, $300,000? Yeah. we did not have $300,000 to get a kiosk.
Yeah.
So call up my two brothers and my sister, and all of us are in the backyard hitting it and building it and everything as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And at that point, we hadn't sold another bracelet yet from that summer tour. It's completely off of faith that this next Christmas season is going to be huge. And so yeah. And when you go through hard times with people, you know, you grow closer and closer together.
Yeah.
And I think those early stages of my family being there for us to lean on was obviously we couldn't have done it without them.
Right.
And it made us all stronger together. And yeah, it was just great. That's how it kind of started.
I remember too when I first worked for the company, and then I came back after I took a couple years of a break. The expansion of the menu was drastic.
Yep.
I came back and I was like, this is not the little menu that I had when I first worked here.
Yeah, you know, when we first started, I think we had like 4 options, maybe 6 options in stones.
Yeah.
To where now, not only do we have like 20 options of stones, we have charms, we have necklaces. We just introduced our hats. Apparel is launching full steam ahead.
Yeah. Oil and Stone.
The perfume line is now
Body
here.
Fuel.
Body Fuel.
Everything.
My personal favorite is the Ducky Notes. I'm a little bit prejudiced because they let me design a product. So that's like my first product that I've put my design ability
Do you drive a Jeep?
I don't drive a Jeep though, but my daughter drove a car. Everything that we've done has been based off of something and that I wanted to inspire. Like, I don't know if I ever told anybody this before, but all of the sayings originally I wrote for people in my family. So like
I heard that in the video on the website.
Yeah. So the beautiful girl, you're made to do great things, I gave to my daughter.
Yeah.
You're my sunshine was for my other daughter.
Yeah.
I love you to the moon and back, always my mother.
Yeah.
There is a love collection too that was all love notes.
Aww.
Call me Mr. Romantic,
Okay.
I guess. Which I think there's only 2 or 3 of those that are still out there because some people. Anyways, I won't go into all
Were
that.
they too mushy?
They were too mushy, I think. But
too specific.
Yeah. But
That's
yes.
so cute.
So creating products for it. So the Ducky Notes, that was a product I did too for my girls. My daughter started driving, which is terrifying. So I wanted to have like a little guardian angel.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why not make a guardian angel duck that says angels always guard you?
Yes.
It's on her dashboard. And now anytime she drives it, she sees it and sees it.
That's perfect. Yeah. The ducks are cute. They're
Yes,
different.
for sure.
I was surprised when we came out with the ducks, but it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Like every family member has like something inspired by them.
Yeah, I know.
That's so cute. I love that.
For sure.
I read something that said that you viewed yourself as an underdog and that it was like your goal to kind of prove yourself. Do you want to tell us like where that came from? Do you still feel like an underdog?
Yeah, you know, underdog story. That's like a personal story. Everybody has those personal stories from their childhood or from situations they've gone in their personal life that forms who they are. And a lot of times those things can break a person. Other times that can be the driving force behind it. And for me personally, my whole life I've kind of been an underdog or even like an outsider necessarily. My dad was in the military. So because of that, every 3 years we're moving from a different city to a different city, new environment, new friends, kind of new schools, all that stuff is completely different. But not only that, when I was younger, I was actually diagnosed as a special ed student. I had dyslexia, and then I was also had a speech impediment, so no one could understand what I was really saying for a little while. And so they had actually put me into special ed classes. And it's kind of off topic a little bit here, but I'll kind of dig into my personal background. You know, my mom was actually the first person to ever homeschool somebody. So she took me out of school and said, look, you're not going to label my son as a special ed. My son's so smart. But she took me out, started homeschooling me. And, you know, since then, I think I went through a little bit of a stage of being that underdog, of not counted out, you know? So from that, and then there's also other situations in life that formed that, you know, like I remember coming from a background growing up. My parents didn't have a lot. I mean, it was Taco Bell every single night. And I remember being told that we would never be able to own a house or buy a house or buy tickets to a Braves game or different things like that because your family didn't have money to do something like that. So that built that underdog mentality of having to beat the system.
Yeah.
I also didn't go to college.
Really?
And that's a big thing. People think that you have to have a college degree to be a CEO of a company,
Right. To be successful.
To be successful.
Yeah.
And so that stigma of not having that college degree and having doors shut at my early stages of life because of that, all built that thick skin, I guess.
And drive.
And
I
drive,
bet.
right,
Yeah.
to prove people wrong.
Yeah. I love that. I have a similar experience as well. I come from very humble beginnings, and I also suffer with dyslexia, and I also moved around a lot, and it went undiagnosed for a really, really long time. It wasn't until like I overheard conversations that my teachers were having. Like I always knew like something was different. Like I would get pulled out of a regular classroom and put into a different one that had two teachers, and like one would help me take my test, and they'd read me the questions, and I didn't really understand. And my parents weren't in the position to like go have parent-teacher conferences, and I never like came home and told them anything, so they didn't know. But I know that going through all of that, I also had like an underdog mentality, but it also made me struggle with like confidence. And I didn't like speaking in front of people. I don't like reading in front of people. So I just was wondering, like, when you start a company, I imagine you have to have some sort of like confidence. Did you have an outlet that like helped you come out of that shell? Did you struggle with confidence issues at all, like dealing with the adversity that you did?
What a great question.
Thanks. Or no, like did you just not?
No, there's so much that is in that my mind is spinning of all the answers. The first answer is obviously you have to have faith, and a lot of times when you have extreme difficult situations, you have to have faith. And this goes into a different subject of trusting that the outcome is going to be in your favor, whether or not it's positive or negative. And when you take away the fear of failure, because failure leads to success and teaches you what you need to learn.
Right.
That is a big part of that. Second thing is family. Like having the belief of my family behind me is huge to be able to do that as well. And then thirdly, I'd say is experiencing failure and going through failure. When you take the fear of failure away and you get to start tasting success, it builds that confidence inside of you. And so the best way to start overcoming it is trial and error. Like the more you try, I think people that can never beat the fear of failure of an underdog is saying I'm not worthy enough or I'm not good enough to make it to where you're trying to get to, right? That's what an underdog is they're counted out. Until you start trying those things, I don't think you'll ever be able to have the confidence to beat it. So
what's the best advice you've ever gotten? And it could be like personal, it could be business related.
A driving factor. And I don't know if I've told anybody this before. This podcast is like therapy, right?
Yes.
This is great. I don't know if it is advice, but it was a line somebody said, because I also have a passion to write a book. And I don't know if I've told a lot of people that before, but I want to, I've had a seed planted in me to write a book, and a person gave me advice and said to be able to write a book, you have to have the experience of what you've gone through to get there, which is kind of what that says is you have to have the story of the journey to be able to tell the story of the journey. You can't tell and help somebody for something that you haven't already gone through. I don't know why that's advice necessarily, but it's kind of like don't be afraid of the journey, I guess. And the journey
enjoy the journey.
Right, enjoy the journey, right? But the journey is the story. So I don't know, enjoy the journey of what you're going through. Advice as far as work goes, don't be afraid of taking risks and trying things. I think being a risk taker is something I take a lot of pride in, of not being afraid to fail on things. And that started at the very beginning. The first time we started with the 12 kiosks, we risked everything. Like there was no, my dad always told the story about, I'm going to butcher the story, but it's a story of the general for World War II that when he landed, he said, burn all the ships because it's not an option of retreat. It's the general of World War II, Eisenhower. Let's say it's Eisenhower, maybe. I need to check up my history.
I have no idea.
Is that it?
It's actually 1519. He eliminated armies, marines, and retreats after arriving in Mexico, giving rise to the phrase "burn the ships."
See, that might be it, but there might also be another one. You have to check World War II or something in that, because I think that it was like an American general too. Double check it. I don't know. Anyways, good story. So point is that when you do that, it doesn't give another option. You are that much more motivated because you don't have another option except to be successful. So that first Christmas, when we invested everything into all the kiosks, into all of the inventory, everything as far as that goes, that was probably one of the biggest risks that we took. Was that a question? I don't even know.
I don't know. But yeah, and I know that when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned that experience is when you really felt like you dealt with like intense stress, so much that it took like a physical.
Yeah, no, I'll tell that story. That first Christmas, like I still take a deep breath just thinking about it. Did you see that? Again, this is great. This is great. That first Christmas taught me what stress was, because you think you know what stress is and you think you can handle stress until it like really mounts up on you. And so that first Christmas, we had put everything in, our life savings, everything. Like I just said, we burned the boats. And so there's no going back to anything else. And so that first Christmas, I'll never forget driving out of town afterwards. All kinds of stuff happened that Christmas. Like we had to build all the kiosks. We had never done retail before. So I had never hired anybody. We had never made schedules. We'd never knew how to keep up with inventory going from location to location or anything like that. So that first Christmas, we learned all those lessons. And so when we broke even that first Christmas and we made a little bit of money to keep the company going, I'm driving out of town on that trip and I'm back home to Florida. So this was up in Atlanta where we were. And all of a sudden, it was like all the pressure and stress left me. And it was like a whew, and I got dizzy. It's like my whole body got thrown to the side and I'm holding onto the car. I black out. I'm not able to drive anymore. And my brother-in-law was sitting next to me. I was like, Johnny, grab the wheel, grab the wheel. And that was the first time I dealt with the results of what stress was. And long story short, like I went to the hospital. I got EKGs. I got heart, chest, and brain scans.
What just happened to
everything,
me?
like just what happened to me. And they wanted to put me on medication. That's a whole other story. But I learned that the anxiety of it was releasing and it caused that. And it's still something I deal with. You know, we'll have to do a whole episode on how to deal with anxiety, because it's a real thing that impacts your physical health and your brain fog and headaches and dizziness and your breathing. And there's some techniques you can do to calm yourself down from just going to a sink and splashing water in your face. It gets you out of the state breathing. Have you ever heard of Himhoff breathing exercises?
No, I do the box breathing.
The box breathing? When you go home, you have to look up Himhoff breathing. And maybe we'll even do it, but it's like box breathing, but it's also short, intense breathing and then slow, drawn-out breathing. But it calms your nervous state down, and that's a key thing to be able to do. Anyways, we went off topic there.
But dealing with all sorts of stress as a CEO, as a businessman, I guess, you have to learn how to cope with those things. And people always say, like, that you feel like a weight lifted off of your chest, but I guess in that moment it really did. Yeah, you know, and I didn't know what that was at the time, because then it was for $75,000. Like that was the investment. It was everything we had at the time. But now our rent is $500,000 a month. And so crazy. Like the pressure of like, we got to pay $500,000 just to pay rent on all of our stores. You learn now how to deal with stress and what it is and how to process that. And how to lean on people like your family, you have a great support system around you. Leaning on our family, trust in our team. You know, who you hire and who's part of your team is such a foundation, because that trust that you have to have in them to help you know that they have your back. You know, that's a key part. Yeah, I think that the Inspiration Nation, I'm sure, would agree with me in this, that the Inspiration Company is it's so easy to fall in love with. It's so easy to follow and to want to see successful. Like aside from us being underdogs, I feel like, especially with like, we want to do more than just sell jewelry. This is an entire lifestyle company that you guys have here. I think is a reason that you guys have been so successful, and why all of your employees, or most of them, want it to be so successful and give it their all. Yeah, you know, our team of employees are the foundation. You know, you can only grow as strong as
the team that you've built
Yeah.
around us. And the good thing about the Inspiration Company is that it is a group of people that all believe in the mission and the why behind the company.
Mm-hmm.
And they have fallen in love with the fact that you can inspire people and have a passion, and you come
Yeah.
to work and you, like this podcast right here,
Yeah.
it's going to be great, but it's also going to inspire somebody out
Yeah.
there. And the fact that we can sit here and talk and look into a camera and realize that somebody out there watching that's going through maybe starting a business or going through starting any type of life challenge,
Yeah.
and hearing the stories that we're going to be able to share, it's powerful, you
Yeah.
know? And you might even want to join us. If you're out there and you want to work for the Inspiration Company, go to our website, apply. We're looking for some great people for sure.
Christmas is right around the corner, and
That's
it's
right.
definitely the best time. I remember my first Christmas and Black Friday working for the company. I was the only person. Everybody else had called out.
Oh,
I was the
man.
only person working Black Friday, but I had the best time. I
Yeah.
was running around the kiosk, inside and outside, and that's also like when you get the best stories, I think, when you inspire the most people and you
Yeah.
have so many people looking for that inspiration.
Yeah.
It's a very touchy thing. We want to play a game with you though.
Fire away. Let's play a game.
So to start our game, we're going to ask you your favorite engraving that we have. Then
Yep.
I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to give you a list of scenarios
Okay.
of different things that people might be going through, and you're going
Got
to
it.
recommend them
I'm
an
ready.
engraving.
All right, fire
okay,
away.
so what is your favorite engraving?
My favorite engraving, speed round here. I have two.
Okay.
First one is the first bracelet I ever got. I still have it. I'm gonna have to bring it back to the next podcast.
Yeah.
It's the I Can Do All Things Through Christ
Yeah.
one. First bracelet I ever had got me through the first years of the Inspiration Company. I'm actually wearing the hat too.
Yeah, you
and
are.
It says right here Philippians 4:13,
Yep.
so that I can do all things. Second is a engraving I had made for Ashley from a song that I liked, that I'd given her when we were dating, called Crazy About You.
Cute.
And it said Crazy About You on
Yes.
it. And so I'd given that to her.
That's good. My favorite is definitely Beautiful Girl. You Were Made to Do Great Things.
Phenomenal.
It's the first one that I ever bought myself.
Yep.
When I worked for the company originally, and then when I came back, it was still the first one that
It's
I bought
powerful.
myself. It's so powerful. And then my second one is One Day at a Time. Those are my two favorite ones.
Good ones.
And then
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, can't go wrong with those two. So what engraving would you recommend to somebody who, let's say, just lost their job and doesn't know like what they want to do, like what their next step is?
That's a good one.
They hit like a roadblock.
Yeah, again, my foundation is faith.
Yeah.
And so the first one that pops in my mind is I know the plans I have for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know your own plans,
Right.
but God does. And even with the Inspiration Company, every roadblock that we've ever hit has led to something better. And sometimes when you don't know what the outcome is going to be,
Yeah.
the faith that you know that God has a plan for you,
Yeah,
that'd be the one I would do.
that's awesome. Okay, this one's a little bit heavier, but dealing with like loss, something like that.
That's a very difficult situation. And, my wife lost her father last year, and we actually lost a baby
Yes.
last year as well. So last year was a hard year for us. And I would probably say that Always and Forever, it would be the one. Yeah, that's what
That's
I
a
would
good
probably say.
one.
I'm flashing back though, because inside my hat right here, I have a Happiness Forever. I don't have that a bracelet yet, but did I ever tell you why that was there?
No, but I like that.
Yeah, the Happiness Forever is a saying that when I was dealing with the loss of my child,
Yeah.
long story short,
Right.
I was emotionally lost on it. So I went outside and I got on a bicycle. And I said,
Okay.
you know what, I'm going to ride this bicycle until I find a way of solving the hole that's inside of me. Because
Yeah.
I was just like, I didn't want to talk to anybody, I didn't want to say anything. I was crying like all the time.
Right.
So I went on this bike ride, and it was like an 8-mile bike ride. And on the trip, I was thinking of all of the happy thoughts and the happy feelings that I had knowing that I was going to have a baby.
Yeah.
In that process, I felt such much happiness. And so in that journey of riding the bike, of thinking of everything I was going to do when I had a baby again, because we had tried for 3 years to get pregnant. It's a whole episode to go into
Yeah.
that. But I had so much joy in it. And so what God kind of spoke to me in that moment is that the happiness you have there doesn't end, that she brought that to show me that happiness is through the valleys and the highs and the mountaintops, and that happiness will last forever in in the thought of the relationship that you have there, even if it's an unborn baby that you've never had a relationship with. I know that I can always turn back to that, and that's why I put it on the inside of the hats now, that she'll be remembered forever, to that she brings happiness to me even though she's not here. So one day I'll get that on a bracelet. I haven't put it on a bracelet yet, but it is engraved on my hat, and that's what I thought about loss, is because you connect to that inspiration, and that's what gets me through that loss period. And so anybody out there, you know, we even have a custom engraving side too, you know, and so if there's a certain saying that the person said that you've lost, put it on a bracelet, because there's story after story of people that have even been buried in the bracelets and everything, you know, and I personally have been able to deal with loss through the happiness and the remembrance of it, more than trying to bury the thought. The more I tried to bury the feelings and pretend like it didn't happen, or push it away, don't think about it because it brings me pain, it just always resurfaces, compared to when I remember the joy in those relationships. I think it's a healthier way to deal with that. So
I would definitely agree. I always recommend the Always My Heart. It's my favorite one for loss. And then on a lighter note,
you got deep on me on that one. I apologize.
On a lighter note, for like a celebratory, for anything like graduation, new job, anything like exciting, what would be like your go-to engraving for that?
That's a great question for a celebratory type of thing. You know, the first thing that comes into my mind is the best is yet to come, just because that's celebrating that the best is right here in front of you.
Yeah. Okay, so you just told us about how the company started up until this day, where we're at 50 locations nationwide. What's next for the Inspiration Company? So many exciting things.
First, we have all kinds of product releases that are going on. But what I'm most excited about right now, and what I want everybody to jump on board and be a part of, is our Next Generation Impact Project. Okay. We were sitting around our table here talking about how we can make the biggest impact on our communities. And for us, the demographic or the audience that needs the most amount of inspiration to us is that young generation that is so tied right now into social media and peer pressures. And I can only imagine growing up with so many channels of information being fed into who we're supposed to be. So we said, how can we impact this next generation? So we came up with this project. It's called the Next Generation Project. And it's where we're going to be donating, for every bracelet sold, a bracelet to a student going back to school this year. We feel like going into school and having this reminder of inspiration, whether it's your favorite, the beautiful girl you're made to do great things, or she believes she could, so she did, or you're a diamond dear, they can't break you, or created for greatness. Be strong and courageous, for I'm with you. Bible verses, God is within her, she will not fail. If these students have these core foundational thoughts that are triggering them all throughout the day, to where when peer pressure comes, or anxiety, or a bracelet that says I am enough, you know, when somebody else is telling them they're not enough, being able to look down and find that foundational thing. We think impacting students this school year will make a huge difference in the communities that our stores are in. So 30,000 bracelets we're going to be donating to students everywhere, but it's a buy a bracelet, sponsor a bracelet. So for every bracelet sold, we're going to be sponsoring a student and giving them a free bracelet. Kind of like the Tom's shoes did something like that, where like if you buy a pair of shoes, there's water companies that like if you buy water, they'll donate water. We're doing that same sort of thing, except to the communities that our stores are in, we're out there. So a couple ways you can help do that. Number one, if you're out there watching and you have a classroom that you want nominated and you're close to one of our stores, go to our website, go under info, it's the Next Generation Project, and get on there and nominate your classroom. And then what we'll do is we're going to have that whole classroom come into one of our stores. They get to pick out any bracelet that they want and any of the basic classic stones that we have. And then this school year, we're going to be inspiring some students.
That is awesome. Well, you heard him. Go nominate your school, go nominate your classroom, your kids' classroom. That's a beautiful thing. There's absolutely nothing like shopping in store and getting to choose one of these inspirational bracelets to wear with you every day, especially during that age, some of the hardest times. So they will definitely benefit from having one of them. But this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing the first ever podcast. And
first ever podcast in the books.
I can't wait to see what we do next week. So if you guys are interested, come back next week to see what we come up with.
Peace.
Bye,
See you later.
Inspiration Nation.